Football has given us its fair share of memorable moments. Some make us happy, but others break our hearts. In this video, we will show you some of the most emotional, heartbreaking moments in football. From gut-wrenching club goodbyes to career-ending tackles, here are 10 of the most heartbreaking moments in football. Starting with number 10, AC Milan vs Liverpool, 2005 UEFA Champions League Final. When AC Milan took a 3-0 lead against Liverpool in the first half of an intense Champions League final, with goals from Hernan Crespo and Paolo Maldini, everyone thought the game was done. But as we all know, it's a bad idea to count out a football match too soon. Liverpool fans had pretty much given up hope, and who could blame them? But remember what happened next? Out of nowhere in the second half, Steven Gerrard, Vladimir Smicer, and Xabi Alonso scored, leading to one of the most incredible comebacks in Champions League history. The Ataturk Stadium in Istanbul went wild. Liverpool fans came back to life, while Milan supporters felt like their hearts had been stabbed. After a famous 3-2 victory in the penalty shootout, Liverpool turned the football world upside down by lifting the trophy. Yikes. Can't imagine how tough that day was for AC Milan. At number 9, we have James Rodriguez's tears versus Brazil 2014. James Rodriguez had torn up the 2014 World Cup with Colombia, playing at an incredibly high level that he couldn't quite replicate throughout the rest of his career. The former Real Madrid attacker had scored a truly wonderful Puskás Award strike against Uruguay, and then netted a penalty in his side's eventual exit to Brazil. The emotion overcame Rodriguez, who was comforted by Brazilians David Luiz and Dani Alves, having been the leading goalscorer at that World Cup with 6 goals. At number 8, we have one of the most heartbreaking goodbyes in the world of football. You see, we've been blessed with a lot of iconic legends in football, and it's always heartbreaking when they have to say their final goodbyes to the club they shared a lot of memories with for the sake of retirement. But it hurts more when you have to say goodbye without wanting to leave, which was what Lionel Messi had to do with Barcelona. After signing for the club at the age of 13, Lionel Messi and Barcelona helped each other reach extraordinary heights over the years, and has often said he wanted to retire Barcelona, so it's little wonder the Argentine couldn't keep it together when the time came to say goodbye. La Pulga was in floods of tears in his final press conference, as he explained that he wanted to stay in Catalonia, but couldn't due to the club's financial crises. Number 7. The Emiliano Sala tragedy. After a fantastic season with League One side Nantes, his form got him a move to Cardiff City in January 2019 for a club record fee of £15 million. Unfortunately, during his flight to his new club, Sala died in a plane crash off Alderney on the 21st of January 2019. He was a passenger aboard a Piper Malibu light aircraft flying from Nantes to Cardiff. An initial 3-day search that covered 4,400 square kilometers across the English Channel failed to locate the crash site. 2 subsequent private searches were launched, resulting in the discovery of the wreckage on the 3rd of February 2019. Sala's body was recovered 4 days later. Number 6. Christian Atsu's sudden tragedy. Former Newcastle winger Christian Atsu had just signed for Super League club Hatayspor in Turkey on an initial 1-year contract with the option for a further year after spending most of his career in the Premier League. Sadly, his time at the club wouldn't last long due to an earthquake in Turkey that took a lot of lives. Atsu had initially been scheduled to fly out of southern Turkey hours before the quake, but Hatayspor's manager said he stayed with the club after scoring the winning goal in the 5th of February match. On the 6th of February 2023, Atsu went missing in the immediate aftermath of the 2023 Turkey-Syria earthquake, where he was feared to be among those trapped under the rubble of Hatayspor's headquarters in Antakya following the quake. After a lot of confusion generated from several contradicting reports between the club's vice president and the manager, confirmation was received by his agent on February 18th that his body was recovered from the rubble of the building he was residing in. Number 5. Lukaku's heartbreaking descent. But as depressing as that might have been, nothing is more worse than being killed by your own family. This is the tragic story of former Ajax player Jody Lukaku. He was considered one of the most charismatic and talented footballers at Ajax, but he failed to live up to expectations and spent majority of his time at the club on loans. Eventually, he left the club and made a series of underwhelming moves playing for different clubs. For a time, he was completely forgotten about until he was signed by Dutch club Twente several years later. But sadly for him, his precedented comeback never happened after he suffered a terrible knee injury, which would leave him permanently sidelined. But his problems worsened after that, as he was released by his new club without playing a single minute for them. Shortly after, he ended up in a physical fight with two of his cousins and got badly injured by the both of them. This didn't prove to be the end of his troubles, as he would later find out after getting home and realizing he had a severe head injury. He had to be admitted at the hospital, and if that wasn't enough, his leg got amputated due to an infection that had spread from the knee injury he initially suffered. He shortly went into coma afterwards and gave up the ghost on Monday, the 9th of May, 2022. Coming at number 4, we've Ghana versus Uruguay, 2010 World Cup quarterfinal. Oh dear. In the first World Cup ever played on African soil, Ghana made it to the quarterfinals of the tournament with an opportunity to make a groundbreaking appearance in the semi-final, which would have been the first ever for an African nation. The only thing standing in the way for the Black Stars was Uruguay. After an enthralling back-and-forth encounter that saw the match tied at 1 late in extra time, Ghana was given the chance to make history. After Ghana striker Dominic Adia headed the ball beyond Uruguayan keeper Fernando Muslera, Luis Suarez raised both hands to ensure that the ball didn't cross the line. Suarez was given a red card, and Ghana was awarded with the potential winning penalty kick. When Asamoah Gyan, the team's leading scorer and talisman at the tournament, stepped up to the spot, the storybook ending was already being written around the world. That was until Gyan blasted his kick off the crossbar, giving Uruguay a lifeline it would not pass up. The South Americans would go on to win the match 4-2 on penalties, breaking not only Ghanaian hearts, but those of the entire continent. Number 3. The tragic death of Andrés Escobar, 1994. Andrés Escobar made 51 international appearances for Colombia and is held in high regard for his contributions by national team fans. At the 1994 World Cup, he scored an own goal in a 2-1 defeat to the United States. 10 days later, on his return to Colombia, Escobar was shot and later died in hospital in an attack in apparent retaliation for his own goal. The defender was only 27 at the time, and his death tarnished Colombia's reputation and image internationally. Next up, Zinedine Zidane bowing out in shame, 2006. Zinedine Zidane was firmly one of the world's best in 2006, but was approaching the end of his glittering career. The final game of that career was the 2006 World Cup final, as France faced Italy in Berlin. Zizou stuck Les Bleus ahead with a Panenka penalty, before Marco Materazzi equalized for the Azzurri. The two goal scorers then conversed in extra time, resulting in Zidane laying out Materazzi with a headbutt. He was dismissed, and France lost on penalties. And finally, it doesn't get worse than the Munich air disaster in 1958, which claimed the lives of 7 Manchester United players. In one of the most tragic occurrences to ever happen in the history of football, we saw the aftermath leave a lasting scar on football. The Munich air disaster occurred on the 6th of February 1958, when British European Airways Flight 609 crashed on its third attempt to take off at the Munich Riem Airport in Munich, West Germany. The aircraft was carrying the Manchester United football team, nicknamed the Busby Babes, along with supporters and journalists. There were 44 people on board, 20 of whom died at the scene. The injured, some unconscious, were taken to Munich's Rex, der Isar Hospital, where 3 more died. The Manchester United team were returning from a European Cup match in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, now Serbia, having eliminated Red Star Belgrade to advance to the semi-finals of the competition. The flight stopped to refuel in Munich. After refueling, the pilots twice abandoned takeoff, and fearing they would fall too far behind schedule, They rejected an overnight stay in Munich in favor of a third takeoff attempt. By then, snow was falling, causing a layer of slush to form at the end of the runway. After hitting the slush, the aircraft crashed through a fence beyond the end of the runway, and the left wing was torn off when it struck a house. The tail section broke off and hit a barn with a parked fuel truck in it, which caught fire and exploded. This tragic incident resulted in 23 fatalities with 21 survivors. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Also, kindly give this video a thumbs up and ring the subscribe button as well. See you in our next video.